All right, Sungming.
Thanks, Karine. A couple topics. On the expanding UAW strike, obviously you had 5,000 workers walk off the plant in Texas today. The strike is in the 6th week, and you had Ford laying off workers in Michigan and Ohio. And I'm wondering how concerned the White House is right now that you can get a resolution that's in a timely enough fashion that you avoid significant economic damage.
Well, your daddy is a liar.
Obviously, we're monitoring all of this, everything that you just laid out very closely. Yesterday, I was asked about Gene Sperling and also Acting Secretary Sue, who have been obviously playing point from this administration in helping in any way possible. Clearly not part of the negotiation, but certainly helping communicate with the parties, both UAW and the Big Three. Look, the president continues to believe that collective bargaining is incredibly important. The options that are under collective bargaining, UAW has the right to kind of think through those options. And so we believe that if everyone comes together in good faith, that there could be a win-win agreement. And so we're going to let them have those negotiations, continue to have those conversations. Obviously, everything that you laid out, we're going to monitor very closely. I don't have anything beyond that.
And on the supplemental packages, obviously you set up the national security focus stuff last week. We have reporting, others have reporting as well, that there are plans to send up a domestic focus supplemental. And I'm wondering if you could talk through kind of the idea of sending it in 2 different packages, especially because you have people like Bernie Sanders saying Congress can't pass just tens of billions for priorities abroad without addressing the priorities at home. So why did the White House choose to do it in separate packages?
I mean, look, in Director Young's letter, she said that there would be a domestic supplemental as well. It's coming this week. So certainly it's going to lay out the president's priorities as it relates to disaster relief, as it relates to child care. And so that's coming. That is forthcoming. We did the, certainly, as you heard from the Admiral, with the supplemental that we released last week, the foreign one, the international one, it said urgent on it in the first line, right? Because we believed it was incredibly important as we see the war in Ukraine, as we see what's happening with Israel and Hamas. We wanted to make sure that certainly that we got that out there as soon as possible. But the domestic one is coming this week. That's what Director Young said in her letter that you all, I'm sure you all saw, that there's going to be an additional request on the domestic front, and those are going to be priorities and just as important, but also priorities for the president as well. That is critical to domestic push or platform that he has.
Thanks, Green. We've heard from Senate Republicans that humanitarian aid to Gaza is an issue for them in the aid package. Are there any modifications to the aid package that would be red lines for the White House?
I'm not going to get into any hypotheticals or any red lines. We believe there's no reason for Congress shouldn't pass or support this. We believe this is a national security priority, right? Which includes, as you know, critical aid to Ukraine as well, not just aid to what's happening to Israel with what's happening in the region.
No.
But we also believe there's strong bipartisan support. We've heard it from Mitch McConnell. We've heard it from McCall, right? Chairman McCall. We heard it from Chairman Turner. So we believe there is actually strong bipartisan support for this supplemental package that was introduced by the president last week. And we believe that there's no reason at all that Congress can't get it through.
Does the president have any reaction to the reporting that Congressman Dean Phillips is going to be seeking the Democratic presidential nomination?
I'm going to be careful from here. Not going to speak to electoral politics, upcoming electoral politics 2024. If one thing I would say outside of that is we appreciate the congressman almost 100% support of this president as he's moved forward with some really important key legislative priorities for the American people. I just don't have anything to share on that on the 2024. I'm here. Go ahead, Kim.
Republicans have selected Tom Emmer as their speaker nominee. I know you've said
very often that the White House does not have a vote in this.
Ad nauseam, I'm sure.
Not involved in this process, but Emmer has been one of the more supportive Republicans for Ukraine aid across the board. Do you see that as a positive signal?
I'm just not going to speak to their process. I'm sure there's more steps to go, right, before we get to the end here. I think it's important and critical that the Republicans in the conference get their act together, get their business in order, and figure out who's going to lead not just the conference, obviously since they have the majority in the House, have a speaker for the House. Just not going to get into it. I have said just moments ago, we have seen bipartisan support for the supplemental package that the president announced last week, that we announced that we spoke to last week, and so we believe that Congress should move forward with that. As it relates to their process and finding a speaker, that is up to them. We do not, as the president has said himself, just quoting him, we do not have a vote in that space. Go ahead, Brian.
Just to follow up, I know you don't want to talk about their process, but once the House picks a speaker, your process, considering the global situation, is this administration considered asking the House Speaker to speak before a joint session of Congress, or would you consider having them over to members of the GOP and the Democratic leadership in Congress over to the White House to talk about the situation, since you're asking for additional funds?
Look, there are conversations that have been happening and will continue from this administration to folks on the Capitol. That has been happening via the director of OMB. That's been happening with the Legislative Affairs Office. Those conversations with congressional members have been ongoing as it relates to making sure we get this additional funding. And so that hasn't stopped. That's going to continue. We're going to continue to make sure that we talk to folks, whether in the Senate or in the House, about the critical importance about getting this aid, especially as we talk about our national security. And now we're going to announce pretty soon the domestic piece of this as well. So those conversations continue. That's never stopped, and they will certainly move forward with that, regardless of what happens.
But will the president become personally involved? I mean, the situation has been outlined here in the White House is how dire it is in the Middle East and how dire the situation is in Ukraine. So in order to sell it or in order to make the deal, is the president willing to do it himself to talk to?
We believe we have bipartisan support. We believe we have bipartisan support in the House and in the Senate to get this done. I just mentioned a couple of I mentioned Chair McCall, I mentioned Mitch McConnell. They've been very supportive of getting this moving forward. So we believe the bipartisan support is there, and there's no reason for Congress not to move forward. Go ahead, Karen.
The president spoke with the families of unaccounted Americans 11 days ago. Are there any plans for him to have another conversation with those families? And if not him, can you talk about the contact between senior White House officials and those families right now? We're told that there has been daily communication.
I don't have anything to read out to you on any further conversations, so just don't have anything to share at this time on anything that's going to moving forward on as it relates to the president speaking again to those families.
And how about people in the White House? Like, who is talking to
I just don't have specifics. Obviously, we have had connection and conversations with them. I just don't have the specifics on who is talking to the families.
Have you lost your damn mind?
Okay, Justin.
Thanks, Karine. We're only a couple of weeks away from government funding also running out again. At this point, do you guys have a preferred strategy for how you'd like to see the government funding bill, the two supplemental requests go through? Do you want to see one sort of collective piece of legislation, or?
So I don't have a direct process on that. But certainly, we want to see both of them get through, both the domestic supplemental, which we're going to announce this week, and obviously the urgent supplemental as it relates to our national security that we announced last week. Certainly, we think Congress should move forward with both of them. They should move forward on getting those passed. As I mentioned, as it relates to the national security request that we made with Ukraine and also Israel, we've seen bipartisan support. We don't believe there should not be a reason for Congress to move forward with that. Once we get the domestic supplemental request out there, obviously we'll have conversations as we are now, continue to have conversations with members of Congress to talk about that piece as well. But we want to see both of them move forward. They're both critical. They're both important. If you think about the domestic, we're talking about child care, right? We're talking about disaster relief fund, all incredibly important to the American people.